We're building voice cloning. It's coming soon. But this is the cheapest, lowest latency API of all time. I'm going to do the Spanish voice, but I have Albanian. I've got more languages actually than any other cloud provider, and we're the cheapest price for any other cloud provider. So for Spanish, it's...
Vuelvo a casa, a mi amada tierra, la que vio nacer mi corazón aquí.
Yo soy el grande maricón.
Yo soy el grande maricón.
Not bad. It's got my stamp of approval. So if you are a developer and you use text-to-speech APIs, we make the cheapest one, the fastest one, and the most amount of languages. Even faster, cheaper, and better than Azure, Google Cloud, and Amazon. So we're actually 90% off most of those guys. The quality isn't maybe comparable to 11 Labs, but it's still 99% off. And if you need low latency, you can see our latency is 150 milliseconds. The latency of our rivals is like a full second or something, so it's kind of useless. To synthesize the first paragraph of Moby Dick, our program can do that in 800 milliseconds. And this startup called Google does it in twice the time, and another small company called Microsoft does it 3 times faster, or 3 times slower, as does the other Amazon product. And then when you look at these real brand new companies like OpenAI, they're just too slow. I wouldn't use them for fast, a fast product. And then they don't have any languages. Like, we have the most languages, and these pesky startups, these upstarts, just don't have the languages. And look at the price. It's crazy. The price is legit. I have it over here somewhere. Look at the price difference. 75% off, just 2 products, and then everything else is like 80, 90% off. I mean, you need more decimals to see how much, like 99.0, 99.4. Like, I don't know why you would use those other products, because ultimately you can't scale if you have a lot of users. It's good to make one audio file, but if you need to make millions of custom audio files, you really can't do that with 11 Labs or PlayHT. $180 for a million characters, you'll go broke. Even if they reduce their price to like $30, it's still not good enough. And we're trying to get our price even lower. They never used to price per million characters. We did that. It used to be price per 1,000 characters. Now we do price per million. Soon we'll do price per billion. They don't like that, the sound of that. All right, let's look at the Q1 for NVIDIA. They said they do 11, and they did 13. So last 2 quarters, they beat by 2 billion each. And look, I kind of feel like they're going to do that again. There's nothing that's changed in AI, from what I can tell, that they shouldn't be doing that, right? Crypto token for AI. Like, look, I mean, we'd love to, but there's no real common sense way to do that, from what I can tell. Crypto and AI don't really mix out so great. It'd be nice to have like compute you could do with crypto maybe, but there's companies like Salad that do compute, obviously Lambda and others that you can get compute if you need it. It's just very expensive. And Salad is a company, Salad.com, that's renting out GPUs, consumer GPUs. So you can actually sign up with them. They should be paying me an advertisement right now. But if you sign up with Salad.com, what you do is you can rent out your NVIDIA gaming GPU, and you can make a couple $100 an hour, which is kind of neat. Like I said, if the Salad guy is watching, you owe me one, man. You owe me some free GPUs. All right, so they beat that by a mile. Let's look at the guidance for the quarter they didn't beat by a mile. That might be interesting, right? They said they do 6.50. Josh asks a good question. Why do our competitors charge so much text-to-speech? If you want to make an app and you want it to have audio, like for example, all these LLMs that spit out all that language content, all that text, they should go to audio because people hate reading. We almost call the company TLDR because people really don't like large amounts of text. When we launched Dr. Gupta, that's what we found. That's why we made our own TTS, because we found these guys to be too expensive. So the reason these guys are expensive is because they have a very high quality product called Tortoise. Now we're coming out with something even better than Tortoise, much faster, much cheaper. So when we're ready with that, these companies are basically dead. It's game over. In the meantime, we're putting out models that are high quality. They're not as high quality as these guys, but they're pretty good. And again, for these guys, they're really good if you want to make one file. If you want to make one audio file, you know, they're a good product. But if you want to make audio files for 100,000 users on a website, you just can't use them. Now, the reason, so these guys are just in outer space with their product pricing, right? Now, I think we're really competing with the cloud guys, which I'm highlighting here. Amazon, Google, Azure, Amazon has a couple of models. And you can see that their prices are a lot closer to ours. In fact, Google and Amazon are at $4 for a million characters, and their latency is quite good. I mean, Amazon technically has faster latency than us. And we're rolling out a CDN network, so we know a couple of hops that we can remove. I think we can get to 50 milliseconds and beat Amazon and Google. But right now we're at 150 milliseconds, at least from a New York server. We're going to add a California server, and then we're going to remove maybe some of the other hops that it has to make, and maybe we get to 80 or 50, something like that. But the languages thing is also pretty important. Like, we have 86 languages. We got Nigerian Pidgin, Hausa. We got languages you've never heard of. You know, 𝗕𝗢𝗄𝗅. We've got Tswana, which is spoken in Botswana. We've got languages like Kirundi. You know, and of course we've got German and French and English and all that, but you know, that's kind of the situation. So anyway, you know, I think our rivals have just like somewhat normal pricing, but we're just coming in and totally undercutting them. 75% off Google and Amazon. Same latency basically, but more languages. So that's our kind of way to compete. Now, these guys, as you can imagine, they have a captive audience. I mean, if you're on AWS for S3 or EC2, if you're on Google Cloud for their versions of that, you know, you just point and click and you got a new TTS product. It's a lot easier than adding another vendor. So I think they have their enterprise clients, and you know, we sort of have to get name recognition that they already have. So anyway, here NVIDIA guided to 6.5 billion versus 7.2 in actual. And so that was a smaller beat, and that was kind of before the H100 ship. When was the H100 first shipment? Let's take a look at that. Q1 23. So that was the hot. Well, that was weird because that was, yeah, it was right around here, right? So around here, H100 started shipping. When can you buy Neets stock? Well, Neets is a product at our company called DL Software. We're a privately held company. We're 1 year old. We've raised some venture capital, some of the biggest names in Silicon Valley. Why so many projects at your company instead of focusing all resources on one? Well, I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding in the Valley about this. I think that people think focusing on one project is what you should do at a startup, but I've never had a startup like that. And some of the biggest startups in the world didn't start like that. I think that most of the nerd entrepreneurs that graduate from YC, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them, some of them are great, or overly listen to like a Paul Graham. Like, at the end of the day, they're not talented managers. And part of managing a team is that you can do more than one thing at once. If you can quickly fail products quickly, you get more shots on goal, and you don't have to quote unquote pivot. I think that, like, for us, like, Dr. Gupta exceeded our expectations. Odell looks like it's going to exceed our expectations, but we've had one or two products that did not exceed our expectations. Our first product, Drug-like, did not exceed expectations. We had a small video game we were working on internally, did not exceed expectations. So our job is to, you know, just try to invest resources, human and capital, into software that is going to give us a great return. And that's it. And I think that, you know, the consensus out there of, oh, you got to do one thing is wrong. And that makes me a contrarian, by the way, which a lot of the Valley is supposed to think of themselves as. And my contrarianism is that this idea stems from the concept that you have to save an entrepreneur from themselves, that they're not good managers. Well, I've been managing for a long time. I even manage guys in prison, but I've been managing for 20 years, and I picked up enough things along the way that I can manage 2 teams or 3 teams of products. I think the 5 to 7 trillion from Sam, who I like very much, is a just sort of a generic proposal over how much should be invested in AI. Not all going to go to him, obviously. The massive spikes on the graph are anomaly prices that do show up in the market. Some trading platforms hide them from you, but I like to see the whole time in sales and things like that. Of course, I can invest and trade in stocks, yeah. Drug-like was a good idea, and a lot of times it was basically ahead of its time. We didn't do year-end reviews on Prison, no. Well, John, I'm sorry. Well, Big Slug, sit down for a second here. You had 3 shankings. You got sent to the shoe twice. And you sold 5 cartons of cigarettes for me. You did a great job. Here, I'm going to give you 5 soups. Options is coming. We don't have options on Godel. It's coming soon, John. I don't know how we're going to market Godel. I'm not sure. It's very early, right? So, like, bear with it as we grow Godel. It's going to grow into doing everything. It's going to be like a Bloomberg. Or it's actually going to be better than Bloomberg. Bloomberg has rested on their laurels. Like, they stopped innovating 10 years ago. And I think that, you know, it's something that everyone who has used in Bloomberg knows. Like, some of those functions haven't changed in 10 plus years. And so I think we want to build a platform that's not like Bloomberg of the 80s, but more like, what does today's Wall Street trader do? And quite frankly, a lot of that is programmatic, high-frequency stuff. So the average retail investor or long-short guy is not doing that kind of stuff. But I think they're probably curious as to what those tools look like, and they probably would want to try to use those tools if they could. But they're not even available on Bloomberg. So Bloomberg has a lot of issues. I don't know anything about Russia. Sorry about that. Crypto is coming to Godel. Don't worry. It's coming very soon. Bloomberg doesn't really even do chat. You know, Bloomberg has these like weird chat rooms where they're anonymous. Like, their chat kind of sucks, if you ask me. And that's a new feature. Yes, you can join Godel Num now. But again, it's still an early product. The URL is right here. It's Godel like Kurt Godel, and it's Num like number. Godel numbers were a thing he invented. It's not for retail traders or for pro traders. It's for traders, period. use it to invest. You know, use it to do research. It's got news and filings and real-time quotes and a chat room, a couple of other things, but you know, again, holders, things like that. But the nice thing about real-time news releases is this is the second that it's available on the news wires is available in your news function here. So that's like pretty neat. Whereas like in a lot of other places, you kind of have to. Usually earnings come out at 4 o'clock. You don't need to be invited to Godel. You can just go to godelnum.com. But it's still early beta. So the tech stack for Godel is React. It's a lot of interesting backend technologies. I worked a little bit on the front end, but it's plain vanilla React, so not Next, I don't think. And then it's not Tailwind or anything, so plain vanilla CS. Do I got that right, Carter?
Yeah, and design.
And design as well, yeah. SBF, free my boy. You know, we're with SBF now. He's gonna end up. FTX holders are gonna end up, you know, having a profit. So, you know, he shouldn't have done what he did. I don't see why he got to get them 100 years. Let that boy free, man. Let that boy free. He's been punished enough.